The arrival of summer with a great meal at local Minnesota restaurant, perfect for any occasion. Check out the list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants at eatlocalminnesota.com.
Portions of the following program may be recorded.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, the Matt McNeil Show for your Monday. Good to be with you today. Matt and Patrick here. A huge day. We have a lot to talk about today. We're not done. We'll wrap up this session tomorrow. At some time tonight, we'll wrap up. But I mean, once again, it's already just such a monumental session. I'll get to all that here in a little bit. Coming up here in the 4 o'clock hour is going to be my pleasure to welcome the author Mary Logue, who is the author of The Big Sugar. This is a Bridget Reardon mystery. This is the second in that series. She's already done quite a few books as well, and it's very interesting. Going to be able to talk to her about writing mysteries. I look forward to that as that's going to be coming up here in Claire Watkins. She did the whole Claire Watkins series as well, but we'll talk with her coming up here in the 4 o'clock hour. Patrick, how are you today?
Doing all right. I had a pretty busy weekend. I was in Grand Forks, North Dakota on Saturday for a meetup. Came home Saturday night. Yesterday we had a family birthday celebration and back in today. So it's been a pretty busy weekend.
When you say meetup, is that when, code for picking up trash on the highway?
Not quite. But,
not quite, huh? There we go. I'm just working the camera, making sure the camera angle's there. There you go. That's got to be better. So, but that's nothing wrong. Was it friends, buddies, family?
Yeah, some friends of mine. We all came from a bunch of different states. We had a guy from Oklahoma was there. A guy from New Jersey was there. Michigan. Guy from Illinois, but his dad lives up in that area, so that's kind of why I think he planned it for this particular weekend.
Okay, so so it was a guy that lived there that planned it, because that was the first thing. I was like, well, you got all these people coming in. Why wouldn't they just come to Minneapolis, St. Paul? It's a lot easier to get here than it is to Grand Forks.
Yeah.
So did a lot of people fly to Grand Forks, or did they drive?
Oh, they all drove. That's part of our group. So
okay.
Although I was the one who just kind of went up and right back, and I didn't really have as much fun as some of the other people are this week.
Now, when you say fun, Grand Rapids always comes to mind right away. It is actually a lovely little town up there. Or is it, you said Grand Rapids, right?
Grand Forks.
Or Grand Forks, yeah. Okay, wow. All right, well, were you screaming as you drove back fast? No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't be like that. It's a nice town. I've been there before. It's actually quite lovely. I did two things. One, on Saturday, I went to St. Louis Park High School, had a powwow with the Native American community. And apparently this is the first ever powwow officially held in St. Louis Park, which, I'm sure at some point Native Americans did celebrate in the long and, established history of the Native American tribes in the St. Louis Park area. But this is the city of St. Louis Park. It was the first one they've ever done. It was wonderful. It was great fun. It was packed. Very cool. I enjoyed it quite a bit. And if you've not gone to one, I would highly recommend you go to one, because you understand the process a lot better. Sometimes I just think, well, here's a picture, there's a powwow, but there really is a very specific, process and timeline, and they do things, in their own fashion. And I thought it was fascinating, and I thought it was wonderful. So big salute to everyone that was out there, especially the dancers, lovely dancers that were just magnificent. But great to see everyone in St. Louis Park. And then yesterday I was out at Lake Independence, Maple Plain, out Highway 12.
Very nice area.
Oh, it is. There were people swimming. It's, what was it, the 21st? Is it today? The 21st? It was the 20th or the 21st? Or, dear Lord, it's May. How long ago was ice on that lake?
Probably about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, it was nice. What I did 2 weeks ago. Those kids are coming back out of the water. Okay, so I will say this. A few years back, my dad was amazed when I took the kids up, and I think Charlie was like 8 or 9 at this point, so young kid. We went up to Esquagama by Bowabic up there. Oh, yeah, go crepes. If you stop by and get Vice Pizza, oh, God, is that good. It's a shame the old sauna bar is closed down. Anywho, but if you go up there, I mean, we were up on Memorial Day weekend, and the kids went swimming. And my dad's like, I've never seen any kids go swimming. Now, that year, though, was a really early ice out. And so, you had open water for a while, and the water actually had warmed up pretty substantially. We didn't have that. It was a bit chilly. A lot of fishermen out there. A lot of people getting their lines in the water. Good for you. Good for you. Saw 1 or 2 nice catches out there. It was nice. I got back out into the parks again, and it was nice. Now, I'm starting to push it a little bit. I'm starting to see how far I can go. And I think I'm ready. I think this weekend specifically, I'm going to head to one of the state parks, and I'm going to go hike around out there and see one. Try to find one I haven't been to. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. The DFL had a pretty good weekend, and I got to get to this, but I just want to take a quick moment to all the people, the Walter Hudsons and the other Republicans out there who are basically having a nervous breakdown because you boo-boo kitty. Oh no, not the boo-boo kitty. Oh, you poor little things. Yes. You remember when you guys were saying you're going to jam everything down our throat? Oh, God, it was delightful. Anyway, yeah, I find this whole thing just delicious, what's been going on, and a lot of things got passed. A good chunk of this hour is just going to get you caught up on the things that got passed this weekend. And I'm going to start with the transportation bill. And I want to step back because I think it is so freaking important to understand why the Democrats did what they did. And to understand this, you have to go back to the 1980s when Republicans started to change wholeheartedly in regards to how they looked at budgets. The point of what Republicans put into place was to take the budgets and either give it back to the wealthiest people as a kickback, thank you, keep voting for us, keep bankrolling our campaigns, give me that job lobbying for you after I'm done with my term. Okay, there is that. But the other side of it was to try to take some of that money and drive it to the private sector, get it away from the public sector where you don't have to worry about paying for profit margins and Christmas bonuses and stuff like this, but basically try to get it into a point where, you kind of shift things around. NASA is about the most consummate example of that. I mean, how many billions of dollars were we about to pay not SpaceX, the other guy, one of the other guys that shoots rockets into that's compensating for, a lack of something. But we're going to pay him a few $1 billion because we don't do that anymore. We used to have NASA, and we still do have NASA, but everything at NASA is trimmed down to the bare bones because Republicans have continually taken the money and either given the money back to wealthy people as far as tax breaks or diverted money to the private sector, which they don't have any problem with doing that. It's how it goes. When it came to how they approached transportation, the Republicans came up with a narrative which really was detrimental to the growth of our country as a whole. The last Republican that represented my district, Jim Rhodes, he basically would tell me one of his big things is transportation. The reason why he and a lot of the other Republicans were run out of the party were because they weren't quote unquote team players that looked at the budgets of these things. And, and like I said, pick the department. I mean, they've done this at the Department of Education. I mean, not only have they cut, but then they also diverted a ton of money to the private sector, many times Republican organizations that have made education worse. I mean, that's the whole, kind of the concept. That's what they're doing. And then when you talk to the real people, I think behind it, and part of the whole goal is to try to get rid of the Department of Education completely and say, well, if you're poor, you don't deserve education. That's they want to go back to an age in time before this great beginning of the awakening of the social masses, and they want to kind of go back to the point where wealthy people were, dukes and earls, and their community was their fiefdom sort of thing. And the hell with that. But transportation, it was kind of one of those things where Jim Rhodes, I mean, here he was, and he was a Republican up until I think 2004, 2002, one of those 2 years. He represented Hopkins and St. Louis Park as a Republican. And he would, often tell me, transportation is a big issue, and not just road construction, but mass transportation. It's a big issue. We got to get people into work. We got to do this. That was, persona non grata within the Republican Party. So what they did was push him out and, really only put into place people whose mentality towards transportation on the Republican side was, well, we're not going to give anybody to mass transit at all. That's just wasting taxpayer dollars. We're just going to do road construction. And you say to them, well, that's kind of stupid. We have to get people into town. We can't pave our way out of that. We have to get people into town. And they look smugly and say, no, we're not going to do it. But then you'd go back to these same Republicans and say, okay, fine, let's repave 394 and turn it into a 5-lane highway in both directions. Well, we're not going to spend money on that. And so Republican transportation policy basically came to where if there was a large corporation that made a lot of Republicans to donations, or there was a wealthy Republican who made donations, their private street got tons of funding. Their parking lot and the roads to their business got tons of funding. To a point where even, they went out there, and as they argue that they should not subsidize transportation for the poor through mass transit, they created toll lanes, which basically subsidized transportation for the rich. A class-tiered roadway system so that those people who live out in these wealthy areas don't have to mingle with the masses. You see, I've got enough money, I don't have to do this. I can just drive right past and toot my horn and get away from me, you heathen people. That's them. That is what they did. And that is Republican policy. Remember Carol Molnow. I mean, she was the dreamboat. The dreamboat of the Republican Party in regards to transportation. And not only did she not want transportation, she didn't like roads. But funny story, if you hear about it, is that apparently there was a lot of money that was funneled into her communities where she lived and she farmed for road upgrades and maintenance down there. You can ignore all that. For the rest of us, you have to make do. This was the brain trust that was going to shut down the Crosstown Commons for 5 years and reopen it with the same exact amount of lanes going into it and going out of it. Yeah, good idea. This was the same brain trust that when the 35W bridge collapsed, because once again, conservative transportation policy, they're not exactly doing anything to, kind of basically help maintain any of these roads and keep them safe. The 35W bridge collapsed because we weren't maintaining these as they should have been done. And so the replacement bridge for the 35W bridge, well, when you got past Republicans screaming like, I never traveled on that bridge, why are you rebuilding it? It's like major interstate highway, for God's sakes. This is one of the jewels of Republican policy with Eisenhower. You'd think he'd be all over it, but no. But when they realized, well, they can't not rebuild 35W bridge, it was going to just be the most bare bones basic bridge with no ability for expansion, no ability for mass transit in the future. And yeah, she was laughed out the position basically, because it wasn't anything that concerned her. This is the problem that we've gotten ourselves into because of conservative transportation policy, because of Republicans. Roads have crumbled. Bridges are substandard. We have inadequate roadways, even if they are paved, because we need at least 2 or 3 lanes on most of the major roads. Most of the secondary roads, especially in outstate Minnesota, are long past being upgraded and fixed. And I can say this as a bit of an authority because I was at Metro traffic for a long time. I got used to staring at roads and saying, God, this is a stupid way to do things. But that was the Republican way of doing things, the stupid way. And, it's even dumber in Republican states where, that they basically, people, as opposed to making sure, the black people, let's just be honest, let's just call it what it is. Like in Mississippi, the black people don't get their road paved. They basically don't put any money in for paving any roads. What they do is, as private citizens, pay a private company to come in and maintain their road, which costs them an astronomical amount more money than it would if they just paid the county to do it. But because they don't want to help out those people, they basically pay more money and act like they're getting a better deal. So Republican policy on transportation is wildly broken. That's why I want to commend the DFL for sticking with their guns and saying, we've got to fix a lot of roadways. And they are. I'll tell you what, let's take a break. Come on back. Let me run through this bill. We got the transportation bill. We got the outdoors bill. We've got the tax bill. I got to get through all that. And what still is yet to be passed, that's going to be a good chunk of the rest of the hour. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. I'll take calls if I get time to do so. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
In retirement, it's all about income, your money, making money, while still controlling your principal. If your portfolio has recently taken a big hit, you're not set up for retirement income. We're Ferguson Financial, and that's what we do. We position portfolios to generate retirement income. Learn how it's done. Call us today, 888-429-5569, and check out our retirement income program, Sunday mornings at 9.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
How does this sound? Doesn't this sound better? If you've decided to level your home and build new or to renovate, hire Better Futures Minnesota instead to take it apart by hand. Think before you scrap. Think of the energy and greenhouse gases saved when someone repurposes your old cabinets, fixtures, and lumber. Think of all the resources saved by diverting those building materials from the landfill. Better Futures Minnesota makes it happen for you. Hennepin County residents and public entities, funds are available to make the environmentally responsible alternative comparable to a typical demolition. For more information, check out betterfuturesminnesota.com. That's betterfuturesminnesota.com. Or call 612-351-8650. And don't forget to shop the Reuse Warehouse in Minneapolis.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. It is the Matt McNeil Show. So let's go through the transportation bill. All right, let's just go through that right now. The bill would index the gas tax to inflation, basically resulting in a 5-cent increase over the current rate of 28.5 cents by gallon by fiscal year 2027. The bill being debated on Sunday would also raise the metro area sales tax to fund transit projects and add 50-cent fee on deliveries over $100. The gas tax increase would generate an estimated $155 million over 2 years. So many of our transportation needs were put off for so long, said Frank Hornstein, DFLer from Minneapolis, who chairs the House Transportation, Finance, and Policy Committee. We couldn't afford to do nothing. Successful regions now have great infrastructure. Walz says indexing the gas tax to inflation will give the state more reliable transportation fund a source over the next 20 years. Walz, whose proposal to raise the gas tax in 2019 went nowhere under divided government, pushed back on the notion that Democrats overreached this year. It's not an overreach to fix the road, says Walz, which is absolutely true. But beyond the debate of tax and fee increases, the bill contains a number of wide-ranging provisions that will likely touch every Minnesotan, including much-needed road and bridge repairs, electric bikes, credits, other measures to combat climate change, safety initiatives involving public transit, freight rail and highways, and critical investment in future passenger rail service between the Twin Cities and Duluth. Starting with that, train service to Duluth is now on the agenda. The measure sets aside $195 million to support the Northern Lights Express project, passenger rail service between the Twin Cities and Duluth, with stops in Coon Rapids, Cambridge, Hinckley, and Superior, Wisconsin. The 152-mile line, expected to cost around $779 million, would be eligible for federal matching grants now that the state funds are forthcoming. Kurt Doubt chimed in on this one. Oh, yeah, you little buttercup. Called the allocation a waste of money. Did we learn our lesson from these other rail projects, he added? That the new fees and tax increases of the bill were levied by gluttonous Democrats who are drunk with power. Now, I want to stop for a quick second. Kurt Doubt is accusing other people of being drunk with power. Kurt Doubt, Johnny Mute Button himself, the man who put a mute button into the speaker's chair when he was speaker to stop Democrats from talking when he didn't want to hear them. That guy is now accusing other people of being drunk on power. The guy who was caught outrageously lying to everyone's face, and when got called on it, quickly gavelled the House closed and ran like a little scared little child away. That guy, Kurt Doubt, is got the audacity to claim that other people are, quote unquote, drunk with power. Wow. That is oh, Curty, you're so upset. You know, I want to make sure I point this out to Kurt. Kurt, if you weren't such a jackass, maybe you wouldn't have lost. I mean, I'm dead serious. I mean, people remember how bad you were as speaker. You were horrible. Drunk on power. Dionysus was like, whoa, dude, calm down. What are you doing, dude? Woo, that's a lot of booze. Drunk on power. Wow. Metro Transit safety is also addressed in the transportation bill, and it addressed burgeoning crime aboard Metro Transit, which increased nearly 2/3 in the first quarter of 2023. Lawmakers are slated to adapt a number of measures intended to bolster safety on trains and buses. Transit advocates have long sought changing the penalty for fare evasion from rarely prosecuted misdemeanor with a penalty of up to $180 to administrative citation akin to a parking ticket. The bill would also expand Metro Transit's ability to use personnel other than police and community service officers to check fares and issue administrative citations. The idea, they say, is to free up police to tackle more serious crimes. The bill also sets aside $2 million this year to launch a temporary project that calls for interventions with passengers on the green and blue lines who may be experiencing homelessness or mental health or addiction issues and connecting with them in social services. This comes as drug and alcohol use on light rail has skyrocketed, making many passengers feel unsafe as Metro Transit tries to regain ridership following the COVID-19 pandemic. You got to do something here. When you have TV cameras going in there and seeing people just outright using drugs like it's a crack house on the middle of a bus, you can't have that. And personally, I think you put someone on who's basically going to make sure that person gets off on every one of these. They're going to walk on, see that person, they're going to take off themselves. I mean, that's going to be what it is. Public transit infrastructure. Some $25 million has been set aside to overhaul the Rice Street near the Capitol in St. Paul, including a multimodal hub at the Green Line Light Rail Station. The study would determine whether it's feasible to extend North Star commuter rail service to St. Cloud. The line now stops at Big Lake, has struggled to lure passengers back following the pandemic. The assessment would also probe possible rail service improvements in the same corridor between St. Paul and Moorhead. It also an unusual move, given bipartisan animus over the controversial Southwest Light Rail project. Lawmakers set aside $50 million to help design and build the Blue Line light rail extension between downtown Minneapolis and Brooklyn Park. However, $40 million of that amount won't be funneled to the Metropolitan Council until federal funding is finalized. Southwest Light Rail, the Met Council Chair Charlie Zeal praised the new sales tax to bolster public transit in the metro, saying it would serve generations to come. If I could take a quick second back. All right. The contractor who made the bid on the project screwed up their bid, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and didn't do their due diligence on the tunnel that was going to have to be built up in the Cedar Lakes area. So that, I don't know why the taxpayers are on the hook for that. That's on the contractor. We do not have an answer on who exactly authorized the building of a massive light rail station in Eden Prairie, which wasn't part of the original plan. And I can say this because I was on the planning and zoning committee of my city when this plan came through, and there was no massive Eden Prairie transit hub that was going to be there. Someone authorized it. That should be on them. Now, once again, the third thing was the safety barrier between the light rail line and the trains in the downtown area. I'm okay with that. That seemed to be more of a, when the study came through, that out of safety concerns, let's just put that wall up. I'm perfectly cool with that. That I have no problem adding that on. But the other two things, I'm a little bit wary of that. The sustainable funding for transit will allow us to provide and maintain a system that helps address our regional's mobility, equity, and climate goals, said Zeal. But the largesse would be prohibited from being used to prop up the 14.5-mile Southwest Light Rail line between Minneapolis and Eden Prairie, which has been plagued with cost overruns and delays. Southwest high profile. I can tell you right now, you're not stopping this because we're here. We're about a block away from where the light rail line is going to run past us. At every one of these stops, there is massive amounts of development. The one that's over by, Optima, the United Health Group guys over at Crosstown and Shady Oak Road. How many apartment buildings are they building over there? They're getting ready to tear down a good portion of the buildings on Excelsior Boulevard from Shady Oak Road over to 17th, and they're going to build a ton there. They're building already a ton over on Blake Road and Excelsior Boulevard. Trust me, this is going to go through. They're not going to stop this, or else it would be probably somewhat suicide for a lot of Republican donors that, the Republicans would not be able to get money from the Republican donors on this. So that's getting done. Nod to bikes. The bill would also qualify buyers for electric bikes for credits up to $1,500 based on the popular program in Colorado, and it will also require the Met Council to study extending the Midtown Greenway popular bike plan in South Minneapolis to St. Paul over a bridge currently owned by a railway station. There is also, apparently we can now do what's called the Idaho stop. Do you know what that is there, Patrick? The Idaho stop. It's apparently when you don't have to stop. You can treat a stop sign like a yield, but that's the deal. You have to still yield, but you don't have to come to a full stop. Apparently that's been passed too. All right. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. That's the latest on transportation. Let's go to the outdoors bill when I do come back from the break. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Hi, this is Frank Brown, owner of Minuteman Press Uptown, Minnesota's only minority-owned union printing company. We have big news. We've moved to North Minneapolis.
Why did you move?
As a Black business owner, I wanted to be part of the North Minneapolis community to provide jobs.
Are there other reasons you moved there?
We have bigger new equipment and outgrew the other location.
What kind of new equipment do you have?
We have new equipment that allows us to print quality signage and banners. We also have a new inkjet printer, printing larger sheets, improving production efficiencies.
Is the new location easy to find?
It's not only easy to find, it's more convenient with plenty of parking. We are now located on Washington Avenue North off I-94 and the Dowling exit.
So do you still print everything?
We print more than everything. We have over 175 Google reviews with a 5-star rating. Call 612-870-0777 or visit mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com. We print everything.
I love my Toyota vehicles, so when I have to get service done, there's only one place I go. Rudy Luther Toyota. They know Toyotas inside and out. It starts with them checking your alignment and tire treads with the Hunter Quick Check Drive Inspection Service. Oil changes, tires, batteries, wipers, no matter what you need done, they can help you with reliable Toyota parts and the best service team in Minnesota. Check their website, rudyluthertoyota.com, for service and parts specials just for your Toyota vehicles. Get your Toyota serviced at Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
Hey, it's Tom. Since 2009, All Energy Solar has been providing solar energy solutions to customers. With fully licensed electricians and installers, you can be sure that your solar installation will go smoothly. The team at All Energy Solar understands that every customer is unique. They'll take the time to survey and understand your property to find a solar solution that works for you. One of the biggest advantages of going solar is the opportunity to take advantage of the many solar incentives available. But it can often be confusing to know what you're qualified for. All Energy Solar professionals will help you find out what savings you can apply for and even help with your applications. This is especially important since many rebate programs have limited capacity and are first come, first serve. So it's important to have a professional on your side who will make sure you get every eligible rebate. Get a free no obligation assessment from All Energy Solar's commercial solar specialists by calling 800-620-3370 or visit allenergysolar.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Sunshine today with a high of 81, partly cloudy tonight with a low of 60, then sunshine Tuesday with a high of 83. Celebrate the arrival of summer with a great meal at an Eat Local Minnesota restaurant, perfect for any occasion. Check out the list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants at eatlocalminnesota.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. I don't know. Twitter's blowing up, man. My Twitter is blowing up big time. I have a few posts there, a few hundred likes and stuff. And all right, I got a lot of I get those 15 follower blue check marked Republicans. You're funny. I block you. I want to remind people, I block people on social media for this reason. You're coming to my page and you're an idiot. And so I don't want to spend time with you. You have nothing to offer me or any of my followers for that matter. You're really stupid. I mean, really, really stupid, Walter. I mean, people, you're really stupid. Dumb. I mean, really dumb. I mean, one guy today pointed out, it's like, this is why everybody's left Minneapolis and has moved to Hudson, Wisconsin. So I just did a basic search of the population. The population of Hudson, Wisconsin, which is, for people who are not in Minneapolis, St. Paul, it's right across the border into Wisconsin. It's technically part of the Twin Cities metro area. Hudson, Wisconsin's the growing massive population that has stolen away all the people from a $3.7 million person metro area is less than 15,000. I mean, if you're not even going to do the basic research to see if your argument has any merit, well, you're not really worth listening to, are you? Like I said, most Republicans think that social media gives them the right to kick open the door of your house, walk into your living room, go to the bathroom in the middle of your floor. They get done. They point at it with a smug smile on their face and say, you have to like it. And I'm like, no, I'm going to throw you out of my house and I'm going to call the cops that you're here. And then when you block them, oh, you're afraid. No, I'm not afraid of you. You're too stupid to talk to. You're too dumb. And the thing which is crazy, I mean, cray, is how many Republicans that are sitting in St. Paul right now. I'll have more on that tomorrow. 952-946-6205. All right, so let's go through the outdoors bill because winner, fish dinner. Fee increases for fishing licenses originally sought by the DNR will not happen. So you're gonna have Republicans going, no, they didn't. That did not happen. But how about we start off with the good thing? The Waterville Fish Hatchery will be rebuilt for $18 to $20 million. That's actually an important fishery. If you talk to people that are kind of in the management of the fishing side of things, you need to have that. And they got the money for it, and amen to that. And I'll come back to that in the next hour. Other hatcheries will be updated with $35 million in new operating money, also covering expansion of fishing piers and other other shore-based fishing facilities. $35 million. If you are a fisher person in this state, thank you. That's all you need to say is thank you. Another $35 million is earmarked for new gravel, docks, bathroom facilities, and other improvements to boat access infrastructure on lakes and rivers. $35 million for boat launches. How many good boat launches are there? There's not many. There's just not many. I've dropped boats in many lakes around this state. A lot of them are crumbling. They've been crumbling. This goes back to what I said about the Republicans. They don't want to spend the money on the infrastructure. They don't want to, go on out there and actually, give their own constituents. And once again, this is going to be out, especially in Republican areas. They don't want to give their own constituents the benefits that they need. Nope, not at all. That's just not going to happen. So thank you, DFL. About $10 million in new money will go to fish passage improvements along cold water trout streams on the North Shore, as well as other stream restoration projects in the state. The same money will cover advances in water control structures on shallow lakes. There you go. So if you're a lakeside owner on a shallow lake in Minnesota, thank you, DFL. The new operating funds will bolster staffing at the DNR, conduct more fish population surveys and other research needed to maximize fish stocking. Yeah, it's an important job. But can I just say, it sounds like a good job, man. What do you want me to do? Well, I want you to go on this lake and spend the day on the lake counting fish. All right. Can I bring a cooler? Am I supposed to catch the fish and then do this? Because that sounds like a heck of a job. You're paying me to do what now? No, it's science. It's science. The new to manage invasive carp, they're going to go after the invasive carp. $1.72 million goes to a new group network, including experts at the University of Minnesota, to study and provide preliminary design for lock and dam barrier of the Mississippi River. You got to do that. I mean, this carp is crazy. During ice fishing, anglers will now be able to use two lines. That's right. You can go from both angles into that single hole. Good luck. All right. That sounded far dirtier than I wanted it to. Hello there. Do you got one line going into that hole? Guess what? Now you can have two. Oh, yeah. You liberal hippies in the DFL. Well, it's good for ice fishermen. You get lonely out there when you're in the ice house by yourself. And it's a long day. It's a long nights there. You got a lot of darkness. So, you make sure do your buddy check. There you go. That's just two lines can be now used in an ice fishing hole. Two lines also may be used in the Minnesota River downstream from Granite Falls Dam and the Mississippi downstream of St. Anthony Falls. That's right. You can go. Never mind. I'll just stop. By rule, DNR may allow two-line fishing in areas of Lake Superior. Getting freaky up on the North Shore. Ice fishing litter bugs will be. Oh, this is a good one. God, I'm so tired of these clowns. Ice fishing litter bugs will be subject to a $100 fine for each violation of a new law aimed to prevent garbage, excrement, and other waste from hitting the ice. The law requires waste containers to be secured to the angler's shelter, motor vehicles, and other fishing conveyance. Good. More resources will be poured in the DNR study of native rough fish. A stakeholder group will come back with recommendations how to protect certain species. By 2026, the DNR will require to offer anglers the choice of an app to contain their fishing license. How cool is that? I love that idea. White bass and crappie are going to be stocked in Lake Phalen and other East Metro lakes under a special $75,000 program. Oh, cripes. Well, that means we're going over to Phalen to do some fishing. They got the new fishing dock out there. We can get the two lines. We're going both ways, white bass and crappie. We're doing both ways there. We're freaks. Anyway, an additional additional enhancements will be made for fishing outreach purposes for the DNR's Fishing in the Neighborhood program. Hello. To ensure an adequate supply of live bait during minnow shortage, the DNR may. I love Minnesota. You know what? I do love. This is the best This is one of my favorite parts about doing my job, man. Stuff like this. The minnow shortage crises. The DNR may also allow importation of minnows, but only from waters in neighboring states. Also, the DNR must consult with bait dealers and fishing groups to recommend in early next year how to ensure a viable Minnesota grown bait supply and sustainable bait industry that minimizes the risk of spreading aquatic invasive species or fish disease. There you go. If you hunt, that's just for the fishing side of it. If you hunt, the DNR is given new tools to fight the spread of chronic wasting disease in wild deer. How in the hell did the Republicans not get on board with this? I'm serious. You are jeopardizing the deer hunting season. And yeah, I'm glad that the DFL is taking care of this. Chief among them is a moratorium against the establishment of new deer farms. The bill will also take away oversight of the industry from the Board of Animal Health and gives it to the DNR. It will improve fencing of captive deer where needed and restrict the importation of captive deer from areas where chronic wasting disease is a problem. On wildlife management areas and aquatic management areas, $10 million in the new money will go to wetland and grassland habitat improvement projects. Nice. No more age limits on crossbow usage. Oh, okay. Huzzah! Licensed hunters of any age will be allowed to take deer, bear, turkey, or rough fish by crossbow during regular archery season. Okay, wait a second. Fish? Are there a lot of people fishing with a crossbow? That doesn't seem like a good idea. I mean, I don't know. If you do go crossbow fishing with fishing, I would like to come with you sometime just to see what that's all about. I might have to do that. Find someone that does this and go with them. It sounds interesting, to say the least. The bill denies an attempt to outlaw sport hunting of wolves. If federal protections on Minnesota wolves are lifted, the DNR would be able to authorize a hunt based on its own wolf management plan. A hunter in a synthetic ground blind on public land must place a blaze orange safety covering on top of the blind, visible for 360 degrees. There must be at least 144 square inches of blaze orange material on each side of the blind. That's a good, they just had some guy that got shot not that long ago. Yeah, that's a good idea. From November 1st through December 31st, deer hunters may leave a portable stand overnight on public hunting land in an area in northern Minnesota. The stand must display proper ownership identification. Access to public hunting lands will be improved, including allowances for people with disabilities who use motorized mobility devices. In addition, wildlife photographers, foragers, bird watchers, and other non-hunters will have explicit permission to roam hunting lands in DNR's walk-in access program as long as they pay the $3 validation fee. So here you go. Some good, some bad, but you can't, I will say this, it definitely expands hunting. It doesn't restrict hunting. I'm sure the Republicans will talk about they're taking away your heritage, but no, it sounds like they've actually expanded it. State parks, showers, bathrooms, camping areas, boat ramps will all be upgraded in many places. While more parks will extend operations past Labor Day, access will be improved for people with disabilities, including a project at William O'Brien State Park and Marine on St. Croix. The DNR will not raise state park admission fees. Lawmakers declined that request. But they're going, and I can tell you, as a guy that's been gone to a lot of the state parks the last few years, those are some needed upgrades. And those are jobs. If you care about moose and elk, aerial surveys flown by the DNR crews each January will be greatly modernized under a $3 million equipment upgrade to agency airplanes. The winter population survey is now conducted visually without electronic aids, are central to the DNR's management of the two species. Got to save them while we still have them. And if you operate a snowmobile, the DNR will introduce a large format registration deal that will spare snowmobilers from separately displaying registration numbers on their sleds. So there's all that. A lot of good stuff there in that. There you go. Now, let's get into the tax bill. I'll get into this, and then we'll talk about what remains here in the remaining part of the hour here. Lawmakers sent a sweeping $3 billion tax bill to the governor's desk on Sunday, and we're racing to finish other priorities ahead of the Minnesota adjournment deadline. The DFL-controlled Minnesota Senate voted along party lines Sunday to pass the tax bill. Includes one-time rebates, a credit for low-income families, and higher taxes for some Minnesotans. It's a really good bill, said Heather Gusterson, DFLer from Vadnais Heights. It's going to help out the seniors. It's going to help out charities. It's going to help out families and children. Under the tax bill, single Minnesotans who make up to $75,000 a year can get a one-time refundable tax credit of $260, while married joint filers who earn up to $150,000 annually will get $520. Families with children could get $260 per dependent, up to 3 kids, for a maximum of $1,300. The bill, so basically, if you've got married couple with 3 kids, your maximum you can get is $1,820, which is a pretty good chunk of change. The bill also exempts more Minnesotans from the state's tax on Social Security. Couples earning up to $100,000 annually in federally adjusted gross income will be fully exempt from the tax, as will single fires making up to $78,000. So when the Republicans come on out there and scream about everybody still gets taxed, no, if you're a couple, you make up to $100,000, you're exempt. If you're a single individual and you make up to $78,000, you're exempt. End of story. The rebate checks are smaller than the $1,000 for individuals and $2,000 for married couples that the governor wanted. Social Security tax also falls short of the full elimination that some Democrats, Republicans had called for. The new child tax credit of $1,750 per dependent is a centerpiece of the bill. The credit, which will start phasing out at $35,000 in annual income for couples, is expected to reduce childhood poverty in Minnesota by more than a third, according to an estimate from the Columbia University Center on Poverty and Social Policy. So what you've got is a child tax credit where a couple making 35 or less, get the maximum amount. That's amazing. That is, when was the last time you saw a tax refund geared towards the poorest people within the community? Amazing. And a substantial one, too. A one that's going to change a lot of people's freaking lives, if you want to know the truth. Unbelievable. Governor Walz, after the last election, committed to reducing and eliminating childhood poverty in the state of Minnesota. One of the most visionary and significant measures addressed at the start down that road is contained in this tax bill, said Matt Klein, the DFL from Mendota Heights. Let's take a break. Come on back. I got to get to the rest of the tax bill, plus what's still outstanding. I'm not knowing what might have already been passed today. We'll get to that as well. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. We know dental anxiety and dental phobia are real. We'll take the time to get to know you and give you what you need to be comfortable at all times. We offer free nitrous oxide laughing gas and have high-tech options to help you feel calm and relaxed during your appointments. We'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been going to Shambot Family Dentistry for years. They get me in last minute when I'm in pain and make regular checkups easy and comfortable.
Shambot Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblotfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
This is Ross Stadheim, partner at MJSB Employment Justice. When you've been wronged at work or something just doesn't feel right, it's hard to know what to do next. Our firm can help. We pride ourselves on communication and listening to our brave clients to obtain their own brand of justice. When you hire MJSB Employment Justice, you're not just a number. You're a valued client who will be represented by one of our experienced and accomplished partners every step of the way. That's our promise.
Be heard. You deserve better. Contact us today at mjsbjustice.com.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It sounds like the Health and Human Services bill might get passed here fairly quickly. We'll talk about that maybe next hour, maybe tomorrow. We might have to get to it tomorrow. Once again, all I'm going to say I'm not going to read what Mark Johnson, the minority leader in the Senate, screamed about. I'll just say this. What really angers the Republicans is that there's tons of tax cuts in here, but the tax cuts, their entire modus operandi is the tax cuts to wealthy people only, or primarily, and a pittance to everyone else. What really makes them mad is most of the tax cuts here are going to the middle and lower class, and that is exceptional. Pull tab changes. Republicans also denounced new limits on how electronic pull tabs look and how they are played. It states American Indian tribes have sought the changes for years, arguing that e-pull tabs have become so dynamic that they mimic slot machines in violation of the tribe's exclusive rights to operate casinos. Charitable organizations unsuccessfully fought the change, predicting it would slow down players and cut into revenue. They donate throughout the state. Under the bill, electronic pull tabs must require players to open each line individually, meaning the tabs can no longer have an open all feature activated by a single touch. Other new restrictions included what's the big freaking deal here? Other new restrictions included ban on spinning wheels and representations that mimic a video slot machine, including but not limited to free plays, bonus game screens, other features. So basically, you can't have your electronic pull tabs looking like a slot machine. All right. Heading into the final day, here's what they have left to do. Legislators have struck a deal Saturday to devote $2.6 billion in funding towards infrastructure, borrowing $1.5 billion and spending $1.1 billion. Neither the House nor the Senate has taken up those bills. We'll see if that gets through today. They also agreed to send $300 million to distressed nursing homes, another measure that has not yet been voted on. The Senate passed a bill Sunday evening that would give Uber and Lyft drivers pay raises and job protection, sending it to Walz's desk. The House passed the bill Thursday night. We'll have to see if he signs that. It sounds like he's a little hesitant on that one. The rideshare companies had pushed back against the bill, saying it would lead to fee hikes in services. Uber threatened to leave parts of the state over it. During the press conference on Sunday, Walz would not say whether he would sign the bill. I have seen some of the earnings of these drivers. It's a travesty we have allowed Uber and Lyft to screw over the workers of Minnesota this bad. It just is a disgrace. And so, yeah, I'm 100% for that. The governor said he was confident the legislature would finish the work by the deadline of 11:59 p.m. Monday and called this year's session the most successful legislative session, certainly for many of our lifetimes. We're going to get this all done. And, right now it sounds like, once again, the health care bill, the Health and Human Services bill included priorities for legislative control for the first time in a decade by the DFL, including increasing reimbursement rates and removing barriers to abortion services. Plans to dramatically increase access to Minnesota care were delayed by a year, but the legislature extended the public health program to as many as 40,000 undocumented children and adults. Republicans gave the bill they talked about it being historic size, but the lead sponsor, Melissa Wicklund, the DFLer from Bloomington, said it's also large in terms of the impact it's going to have on Minnesotans across the state. The senator highlighted the 3% and inflation adjustment boost in payment rates for mental health providers, funding for the suicide hotline, the recalculation of the state's child subsidies that allow families to assess 75% of the child care facilities in their communities. It will be a game changer for families. The Senate passed the bill on a 34-32 vote, as the House is expected to pass it on the final day of the legislation. The Jim Abler, the Republican from Anoka, mentioned man-eating dinosaurs, bank robberies, and Justice James, and the cone of silence in the TV show Get Smart, as he railed against the lack of public testimony on the final compromise legislation. Wicklund and Tina Liebling, DFLer from Rochester, led efforts to iron out differences between the original House and Senate versions. Seems like we should have decided this by more than two people in a room. You can officially, Abler, for God's sakes, okay, you might have a point, but your party, which just seemed to have mysteriously written bills that you would wait until 10 minutes before the vote and throw the bills at the Democrats and say, vote now. You guys complaining that the process isn't fair is a freaking hoot. You're just getting, and I'm sorry, they did give you guys a lot of leeway and a lot of input into these bills. It's just that you guys are having your little pity party temper tantrum as you sit there and say, they should have had every single Republican sign off on that bill, and only then would it have been fair. Sorry you got your asses handed to you in November, but this is the deal. And the Democrats have treated you far better than you ever treated a Democrat. So shut up, you arrogant twits. My God. Ugh. More on this when I do return. Hour 2 up next.
Hey, John, I heard you're turning 65 this year. Time to start comparing your Medicare insurance options.
I'm so overwhelmed with all the different Medicare companies and plan designs. I don't even know where to begin.
Really? I worked with CompareYourMedicare.com, and they made my Medicare decisions seem easy.
Oh, really? What do they do?
CompareYourMedicare.com represents several of the top Medicare insurance companies in Minnesota. A local licensed agent will help you compare Medicare plans to determine which products best meet your needs and budget.
Hi, this is Jared with CompareYourMedicare.com. We're a local small business that prides itself in helping our community with their Medicare needs. Medicare is complex, but it doesn't have to be. Whether you're planning to retire early or work past Medicare eligibility at age 65, give us a call. We can guide you through how and when to apply for Medicare. Go to CompareYourMedicare.com or call 952-465-0074 to schedule a consultation. CompareYourMedicare.com is part of the Minnesota Health Insurance Network of Agents.
Hey, Minnesota, it's Brad Friedman, host of the Bradcast. You're listening to AM 950 KTNF, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
AP News, I'm Ed Donahue. President Biden meets again at the White House with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy about a bill to raise the nation's debt limit. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen says June 1st is the day the nation goes into default if a bill isn't passed. The AP's Kevin Frecking reports default means the nation runs out of cash.
Default is certainly worse than a partial government shutdown. While a shutdown does impact economic activity, not nearly to the extent that a default would.
Stocks finished mixed. The Dow down 140 points. Nebraska's Republican Governor Jim Pellin signed a 12-week abortion ban and limits on gender-affirming care for minors.
The abortion ban would take effect immediately. The restrictions on gender-affirming care would take effect October 1st. Nebraska's conservative-led legislature passed the bill that included the two contentious issues Friday after hours of heated debate. The law restricting gender-affirming care was the flashpoint of an epic filibuster led by Democratic Omaha Senator Michaela Cavanaugh, who slowed the business of passing laws to a crawl. Bill opponents have promised to sue to try and block the law. North Carolina recently passed a 12-week abortion law. I'm Julie Walker.
Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed a bill approving a red flag law that aims to keep firearms away from those at risk of harming themselves or others.
So we must act because week after week in America, we see grim, familiar headlines. Every place you can think of, every situation you can imagine has been shattered by gun violence. And so many of the perpetrators showed warning signs beforehand.
Questions remain about whether the state of Michigan will have better success at enforcing this law than others have. Arizona, California, and Nevada have developed a plan over the next 3 years to significantly reduce their water use from the drought-stricken Colorado River. This is AP News.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 40-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term life insurance may only cost you about $100 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-353-9057. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance to buy $1 million of affordable term life for you. All you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-353-9057. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-353-9057. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. For affordable term life insurance, call 800-353-9057. 800-353-9057.
New at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. Kuma wood stoves and fireplace inserts. American-made, sturdy and efficient wood heaters. All models qualify for 30% tax credit you can earn for installing efficient and renewable wood heat. Come see the new wood-burning Kuma stoves and fireplace inserts.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has been selling wood-burning products since 1977. Kuma wood burners are hard-working home heaters made from heavy, laser-cut steel. Kuma stoves and fireplace inserts have cast iron doors and large self-cleaning glass windows. You can see the firelight and feel the heat from their efficient fire. One of Woodland's many choices to make fire work for you and your home.
We're with the chimney and installation experts. They not only install, but will guide you if you want to install yourself. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood, gas, and electric units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, out of the ordinary products and services.
The world has changed. Our economy has changed. And now, more than ever, it's important that your retirement savings is set up to generate income, real money in your bank account month after month while still controlling your principal. And that's what we do. We're Ferguson Financial. We set up people for retirement income. Call us today, 888-429-5569, and check out our retirement income program, Sunday mornings at 9.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Sunshine today with a high of 81, partly cloudy tonight with a low of 60, then sunshine Tuesday with a high of 83. Celebrate the arrival of summer with a great meal at an Eat Local Minnesota restaurant, perfect for any occasion. Check out the list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants at eatlocalminnesota.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Hour number 2 of the show here on your Monday. Good to be with you. Once again, a little bit later on, Mary Logue is going to join us. The Big Sugar is her brand new book. It's a Bridget Reardon mystery. She's going to join us to talk about writing mysteries and her new book here. We'll get to talk to her in about a half an hour. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Patrick, it's returned once again. Republicans who have, and this is this is a group, this is a Twitter account, right-wing guy. I'm going to read you his temper tantrum here. Now that you've seen what tyranny looks like in this legislation, do you think it might support Greater Minnesota breaking away from that tyranny? One party rule is and will destroy Minnesota without a second thought. And as someone pointed out to me, it's like, wait a second here. So you're arguing against one party rule in Minnesota by saying you want to leave Minnesota to join South Dakota, a state with one party rule. Okay. All right. Yeah. It's not the one party rule that bothers you. It's just the party that you didn't want to win won. And now you're having a temper tantrum. And they put out another map. So here is the new Minnesota, the Iron Range. So basically St. Louis County, all the Duluth area, Cloquet, all that stuff. So Gordy's High Hat, we'll be able to go get those burgers, man. That stays in house here. The metro area, but now the map doesn't include St. Cloud or Mankato. Those apparently will want to go, they think, to this new South Dakota. And then the Rochester area, that stays in Minnesota, and everything else. I mean, nothing on 35W. That all becomes part of new South Dakota. And they put this out. Now, it is stupendous how stupid this is. And we have talked about this multiple times. That as much as Republicans in the state of Minnesota want to insist that our rural counties send every tax dollar into the metro and have to fund that place with those people. Yes. We see your dog whistle and hear it too. When the truth is that most of these counties, they would be able to keep the lights on if not for the Twin Cities subsidizing these rural counties. And that's just the way it is. Now, I am not the one bringing this up. The Republicans are. This is once again temper tantrum central. Woo-hoo-hoo. And they're feeling like they're victims and all these things, even though, as I've read these bills, a lot of people are going to get benefits. I mean, Patrick, as I've read these bills, you going out, you guys are out and doing sports and stuff in small towns, you go across this. There's a lot in these bills that's going to help out rural Minnesota, indeed.
That's absolutely the truth. And I think the Republicans are just like, no, because we weren't the ones who gave it to you.
Well, actually, I don't think they would want to give it anyway. By the way, have you ever crossbowed fish?
That is not something on my list, but now I might have to give it a try. I can be that person who you come along with to satisfy your curiosity.
Well, I mean, it's going to be like a Dungeons and Dragons episode. A bunch of guys getting on a boat with a crossbow. By the way, what could possibly go wrong on a teetering boat with a bunch of crossbows? What could possibly go wrong? So I have this mental picture of someone trying to load the crossbow with an arrow, right? And it doesn't quite hitch. And so the arrow like shoots into someone's boat. Oh God, sorry. That's bad. My bad. Do you fish at all, by the way? Do you hunt or fish at all?
That's just not my thing. I mean, I support anyone. Well, I used to fish with my dad. I have not, though, since he passed a while ago. But hunting, that's, knock yourself out. But that's not my thing to go sit in the cold dark at 3 a.m. I'm sorry.
I've done the deer hunting. I've done the duck hunting. I stopped doing that when I came back from the military after you discover kind of what guns are used for. And I said, yep, I don't necessarily need to fire any more guns. And that's kind of my mentality. I do like fishing. Although, due to my children, basically, don't you dare, Dad, I catch and release now. I do not, even I had a bass that had some fillets on there that were beauts. Back in the water you go. I don't need shore lunch. Have you ever done shore lunch? By the way, the official shore lunch?
I have not.
Okay.
The closest thing we did was my grandfather used to own a cabin up on Lake Wabido, which is about an hour and a half north of Brainerd or so. And we caught a walleye and we fried up the walleye that we ate. That was the closest thing I've done.
All right, so here you go. I'm going to give it to you here. Here's what you need. First of all, you need a big frying pan, right? And you need the shore. All right, shore lunch. So you grab some driftwood, you make a fire, put your fry pan down there. You pull out bacon. Now, you're going right with this. This is how you do it, okay? Put out your bacon, fry up your bacon in the pan because now you have a ton of grease. You also have some butter with you, but now you have a bunch of bacon. Now, if you're really old school Minnesota, get ready for the taste sensation. That's Matt's fantastic appetizer for the shore lunch. A bacon onion sandwich with a little butter on there. Delicious. Trust me, not bad, but it's raw onion because they travel well. So raw onion, little bacon, butter, bread, gold. Now you got a pan full of grease. Get your potatoes in. You got your little baggie with whatever kind of batter you want your fish in. You got to clean your fish. Put the fish in the batter, right into the pan. Maybe if you're fancy schmancy, you have a little cooler with a little tartar sauce, a little lemon in there. Needless to say, gold. Just pure gold. And, healthy too. Can I tell you that? I mean, if you are looking to cut the pounds, nothing tells you better about weight loss than a bacon, onion, butter on bread sandwich. Boy, I can hear Jason Bateman on Smart List blowing up right now. No, that's there you go. But you get on out there, it's fantastic. And I have been in many of the areas of the state, pretty much every area of the state, that the Republicans now want to peel off and put with South Dakota. Now, a few things about this plan that the Republicans once again have rehatched. Now, minus St. Cloud and Mankato staying in Minnesota, because I think their feelings got hurt that pretty much all the major cities wanted to stay in Minnesota. So they're trying to make it seem like everybody in Mankato wants to leave. And Mankato, I've already heard from a bunch of people in Mankato, like, no, we're staying with Minnesota. St. Cloud, too. And as a matter of fact, I've had multiple communities say, Moorhead wants to stay in Minnesota. What are you talking about? And once again, this is not me proposing this. This is me mocking the crap out of idiots like the Minnesota Miners Twitter feed that basically thinks like this is a good thing. And you don't even understand the finances of the state, because I guarantee you, if this actually ever did start going downhill and this started gaining some speed, that what would happen is immediately your rural Republican counties and pretty much every one of your cities would all come to you knuckle-headed Republicans pushing this and saying, Are you freaking crazy? Do you know what a budget cut we would have to take to leave the Twin Cities metro area behind and go and join South Dakota? You would have a massive budget cut just by losing the Twin Cities. And then you would get even more cuts because South Dakota doesn't spend crap on their people. Tons of fees, tons of property taxes, you have to do. Anytime you want to repave a road, you're going to have a referendum. Your schools are going to be somewhere around 50, 60% less funded than they are today. It's going to be a freaking nightmare. Healthcare, dear Lord. It is going to be a nightmare. And pretty much most of the area there is. And all you need to know about Minnesota miners is how stupid they are. This is a group called Minnesota Miners, and they want to get rid of the largest port they have to get their product to market in Duluth.
You see the other response? Yeah, there's a whole lot of mining going on in South Dakota that they'd be bringing in, too.
It's just stupid. You guys are just dumb. And you're bitter, sore people because all of you, last October, were talking about jamming this agenda down those libs' throats. And here you are today. And you basically the Democrats are giving you a ton of stuff. And here you are. And just having your pity party. And you don't even know, you haven't even done the basic freaking research that tells you, first of all, St. Cloud and Mankato want nothing to do with going into South Dakota. But you want to make it seem like we're so much better. Dude, do it. Do you know what Minnesota, the remaining place that would be called Minnesota, do you know what a massive budget increase this would be for us? Shocking. It would be insane. It would be unbelievable. We would have more fun. It would be a freaking utopia. You know, I would say this. I mean, as these people sit there and say, the Democrats haven't done a thing for me, the first thing I say is, man, you guys sound uptight. You know what you need? Some dope. That's what I would say. Hey, good news. You're feeling stressed out. I know a way you can calm down. Oh, yeah. Matt Dean, that, once again, shocking amount of trolls on the right. Matt Dean chimes in and he's like, you better not hope this goes true. Well, first of all, okay, can I talk about the people who are like, when I laugh about this, and they talk about, well, what food are you going to eat? It's not like we'd be a foreign country. We'd just be a different state. Well, first of all, I just want to do you understand how the ag markets work? Because most of your food is not, it's not like we're getting a bucket of soybeans at my house in Hopkins and it's time to make up some soybeans, kids. You know, no, that's not how this works. Your products are shipped pretty much to foreign markets and getting processed there. Some of it's here, but it's being shipped to like St. Louis and then it's being converted into a food product, then shipped back to Minneapolis. And there it is. It's not like you guys seem to think that there is this one hitch you have is like, we're not going to give you any of our food. I want to see you do that. I want to see you do that. I want you to go to the markets that you're selling in and say, you know, here's the deal. Here's all of our corn, but you got to make sure that none of it gets to Minneapolis. And they're going to look at you and they're going to say, you know what? We're just going to buy Iowa's corn and they have no problem with it going to Minneapolis. And you're going to be like, oh, because you don't even get it, do you? You don't even get it. But I don't want to see you guys go. I like Minnesota. I love this state. I've been out in most of your districts. Good quality of life out there. A little buggy at times, but I'm okay with that. You want to sit there and act as if you're just these poor little boo-boo victims. I want to say from the bottom of my heart, and this is giving you more sincerity than you probably deserve. But if you truly do hate it here, you have one life, one single life. Move. You can move to South Dakota right now. No problems. There's nothing restricting you. There's nothing stopping you. Go. If the idea of paid family leave or fixing boat ramps or a Duluth commuter rail train is so infuriating for you that you just can't live here anymore, and you're to the point of, I'm fantasizing about peeling off all these counties and going to a different state, then just go. Just go. Your house will sell. Someone that wants to be in Minnesota will move here. You'll be gone. And let's be honest, we'll both be happier. I don't have to hear your ridiculous belly aching. You're going to be finding where you need to be. It's that simple. At the end of the day, I want you happy. At the end of the day, I want you to listen to that. At the end of the day, I want you happy. And if that's not here in Minnesota, bon voyage, good luck. Hope you find your place. But just stop with your pathetic pity party. And don't blame me for mocking you about this idea. I've actually had that. Was Matt Dean came back and, you better not hope this happens. Dude, this is not my idea. This is a Republican thing. You need to go on out there and basically rein those guys in, because this is on the right. I've had there have been one or two times where I've had someone say, "Oh, maybe we should join Canada." Like, no, I like the USA. Nothing against Canada. Good beer, weird McDonald's, pizza. What are you doing? But Tim Hortons coffee is delicious. But no, I'm American. I'm USA. But I'm smart enough to realize that if I truly am unhappy, and this goes for all of you in the metro that are far right people that like to scream about how much you hate it here, move. Go find someplace you're going to be happy. You've got one life. And there are jobs other places and houses other places and food and restaurants. You'll be happy somewhere else. Go. For your own sanity, for your own mental well-being. Go. But stop with this idea that we're going to get those liberals by peeling off 2/3 of the state and joining South Dakota, because that's hilarious. And if that's really what your game plan is on the end of the day, good luck. Bon voyage. And when all of a sudden everything is crumbling behind you and your quality of life is really bad and you don't have anything that you used to have in Minnesota, and you're going to say, maybe it wasn't so bad in Minnesota. Maybe it wasn't. But that's for you to discover. Stop being so miserable and go find your happy place, okay? 952-946-6205. 952-946-6205. I got some directions for the DFL here in just a second when I do come back. And once again, coming up in a little bit, the author, Mary Logue, is going to join us. We're going to talk about her latest book, The Big Sugar. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. Even though Auto Technical is a small nonprofit, we have helped more families with transportation than any organization in Minnesota. Since '94, we have reconditioned donated vehicles so they have a higher tax benefit. Call Richard at 612-919-5526, 612-919-5526, or autotech.org.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the metro. Ryan is so excited about working with AM 950 and our listeners that he wants to help us grow.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. I was friends with Chad long before I started marketing with him. I was a bit skeptical of radio advertising before Chad convinced us to run ads. The advertising's been so successful, we want to help the station grow. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners of AM 950, and we all know how extremely important this radio station is to the community. To help AM 950 grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to follow, engage, share, and interact on the AM 950 social media platforms. Together, we can all work to ensure AM 950 continues to thrive and grow in our communities. We stand by our work with a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. For a free estimate or more information on our financing, call 612-333-SNAP or check us out online.
Hey, it's Patrick. There's a lot to celebrate this month. Graduations, the end of the school year approaching, barbecues, and the warm weather months ahead. Celebrate in a clean home by calling the cleaning pros at Zero Res. You know Zero Res is the zero residue carpet cleaners that don't leave behind any of the dirt-attracting soaps and chemicals that other carpet cleaners use. Their friendly carpet cleaning technicians always walk me through their entire carpet cleaning process and make sure I'm completely satisfied with my cleaning before they leave. Just check out the 15,800 raving customer reviews online with a 4.9 Google rating. Schedule today and get 3 rooms of carpet zero resified starting at just $129, which is a $40 savings and takes $75 off your air duct cleaning. Make sure to mention you want the AM 950 special. Book with ease at ZeroResMinnesota.com or call 9520-RES. Zero Res, backward or forward, spells the same.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. So on Saturday, I went out to try to find a DFL organized list that was pretty comprehensive, that basically tells all the really cool things that we have just done in the state. And the problem is that no one has really put out a good list with all the things on it, which is a crime because, and don't get me wrong, I know the Senate, the DFL Senate put out, well, we passed the infrastructure bill. Well, yeah, but that doesn't tell you all the cool things the infrastructure bill did. You know, we passed a transportation bill. You need to break this down. And I made a plea on Twitter for the DFL to get a comprehensive list, pages long, of all the things they got done that they can put out there so that people can start saying, boom, wow, look at that. Look at all the stuff that they got done. Unbelievable. And apparently this is a good idea because 600 or so people like that tweet, which, that's quite a few. So a lot of people agree that the DFL should do something like this. But I'm going to go with my friend Teresa, who actually, is really much more thinking about this. You need DFL. You need to get out into rural Minnesota. You need to start putting billboards all over, basically directing what's going on in each of these little towns about what the DFL has done. I'll give you one great example of this. I mentioned last hour that in the outdoor bill, that one of the items in there is the Waterville Fish Hatchery will be rebuilt for 18 to 20 million. All right. It's a heck of a deal. Think about that. Think about the town of Waterville, which I think is less than 2,000 people. You're getting a $20 million improvement investment in that city. You are basically ensuring your town has work and employment, which then in turn will spur other businesses and other growth within that area. And it's not cheap labor. I mean, this is skilled scientific fish hatchery stuff. This is good for Minnesota. Great deal, right? If I'm not mistaken, the two Republicans that represent Waterville, Farr, the House rep at 22B, and Draheim, the senator at 22, both voted against this bill. Now, I guarantee you they're already working on I didn't vote for the bill, but I was 100% for the fish hatchery there. Thank God I got that done. No, you didn't. If it's true, and like I said, I was trying to skim around looking on the Senate pages. I thought I had the right bill, and if that's the case, they both voted against giving the Waterville Fish Hatchery, a community they represent, $20 million to renovate the fish hatchery. I'd put a billboard outside of that town saying, voting against the fish hatchery in Waterville is not supporting the fish hatchery in Waterville. Thank you, Minnesota DFL. Damn! That's a smackdown right there. Kids, if you haven't paid attention, that's basically taking and going into the heart of the beast and basically pointing out your representatives didn't even vote for the stuff that helped their community directly. And I'm sure they'll come on out there and they'll say, well, I was for that. I mean, I don't know why you keep saying I was against that, because you voted against it. And you can pretty much do that across the district. Go up to Pine Huron County, pew, just north of the metro area. There's going to be a train stop in Hinckley. And trust me, Grand Casino up there is going to be pretty darn happy to have a train that's going to drop people off from Duluth and Minneapolis in Hinckley. It's going to also spur, I guarantee you, it's going to spur growth on any of these communities it stops in, all the way up to Duluth. Every one of them. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be shocked if there aren't already other communities saying, hey, is it too late for us to get a train stop in our town? And I guarantee you the Republicans that represent that area, if they're, well, in whatever the area is, depending on where the stop is on that stretch, they probably voted against these bills. Think about just the jobs. Think about the fish hatchery, the jobs to build that. The jobs to build that over in Duluth. But if I can point out something, the same Republicans, the same exact Republicans who sit there and say, well, we needed to do line 3 because that was a bunch of jobs. Remember that? I remember that. We all remember it. Raise your hand if you remember that. That was their whole big argument was jobs, 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 line 3. Even though it was horrible and toxified and they punched holes in the bottom of the Mississippi River and just they did a screwed up job. There's hardly any jobs with that now that it's built. Meanwhile, we've got all these projects around the state where we're going to keep jobs. And then we're going to have a completely working, operating fish hatchery in Waterville, which is going to have a lot of jobs there. You're going to have a train station and probably a maintenance facility all along that Duluth transit line. All along it. That's going to be jobs after you build it. You sit there and you need to DFL, you need to get into every one of these communities and there's something in there that every one of these communities got. Every single one of them got. And you need to go in there and hone that message directly to each town. And if it's just mentioning what the local school district got, increased budget for that local school, that's good enough. Just do it. Because you know what? They're all going to argue that they delivered all this stuff anyway. They're going to argue it, even though they all voted against it. They're all going to sit there and say, well, even though I was against the bill, I'm so glad we got all this funding for our school district in that case. Or they're rebuilding the boat launch. Or they're paving a road. Or they're getting broadband border to border finally in the state of Minnesota. You need to get on out there and point this out. Because I can tell you right now, you want to guarantee that the Republicans never win in the state again, make sure everyone realizes all the good that you just did for them. Because you guys, pound for pound, I have never seen a legislative cycle like this. You guys have done an awesome job. Now it's time to brag. 952-946-6205. When I do return, Mary Logue is going to join us. The Big Sugar is her latest book. We're going to talk to her about writing mysteries. It is the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Hi, this is Chad from AM 950. Snap Construction is arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, window, and insulation contractor in the metro. Ryan is so excited about working with AM 950 and our listeners that he wants to help us grow.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. I was friends with Chad long before I started marketing with him. I was a bit skeptical of radio advertising before Chad convinced us to run ads. The advertising's been so successful, we want to help the station grow. We've absolutely loved working with the listeners of AM 950, and we all know how extremely important this radio station is to the community. To help AM 950 grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to follow, engage, share, and interact on the AM 950 social media platforms. Together, we can all work to ensure AM 950 continues to thrive and grow in our communities. We stand by our work with a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. For a free estimate or more information on our financing, call 612-333-SNAP or check us out online.
Hi, I'm Kelly Tanky.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
Tune in to AM 950's newest show, Searching for Service, a show designed to help current and future Rotarians find purpose through service.
We are dedicated to sharing stories, experiences, and opportunities for those searching for purpose, value, and meaning.
But more importantly, connection through community. Tune in Sundays at 3 p.m. or anytime via podcasts.
It's time to stop searching and start serving.
Hey, it's Patrick. So much of what makes us a family takes place in our home. These walls provide an intimate space for all of the small moments that bring us together, and that bond grows stronger year after year. And like any other relationship, your home requires the same love and attention. This is why you should trust in the power of Zero Res to take care of your home. At Zero Res, we don't use harsh soaps or chemicals. CR water is tough on stains and dirt while still safe for you and your family. So contact Zero Res today to clean your home, because a clean home is a healthy home. Just check out the 15,800 raving customer reviews online with a 4.9 Google rating. Visit ZeroResMinnesota.com to get 3 rooms of carpet Zero Resified starting at just $129, which is a savings of $40, and take $75 off an air duct cleaning. Make sure to mention you want the AM 950 special. Zero Res, backward or forward, spells the same. With a look at your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Partly cloudy tonight with a low of 63. Sunshine Tuesday with a high of 83. Then partly cloudy Tuesday night with a low of 59. Celebrate the arrival of summer with a great meal at an Eat Local Minnesota restaurant, perfect for any occasion. Check out the list of Eat Local Minnesota restaurants at eatlocalminnesota.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show. Well, you know me. Well, now, how many times did I have Larry Millett on to talk about mystery writing? Not only do I love his books about history of Minneapolis, but I always loved his Sherlock Holmes book, because I am a fan of mysteries. And it's an absolute pleasure to welcome another writer of mysteries. Mary Logue is kind enough to join us. The Big Sugar, a Bridget Reardon mystery, is her latest book, and she's kind enough today to talk about it, as well as some of her other writing. We got some events that are coming up for her, too. We'll talk about those in a second. Mary, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Well, I appreciate being here, and I love Larry Millett's books too.
Okay. We're going to focus on you, but at some point I'm having you back. At some point I'm having you back. We'll just talk Larry Millett stuff. I'm a big fan of mysteries and I want to give you a lot of credit, because you as well seem to get it. The concept of writing a mystery is not easy. And I think it's a fairly complicated thing. Let me start with there. When you write a mystery novel, how do you approach it? Are you approaching it from character? Are you approaching it from the mystery itself? What's your focus?
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I write series. So with my Claire Watkins series, I had 9 books in that series. And so I got to know the character pretty well, so I don't have to focus so much on that. With this new series, the Bridget Reardon series, I'm getting to know more about her, but I did establish a lot. She's a 16-year-old Irish girl, an immigrant in the 1880s. And, I actually think a lot of what the work I do is around place, believe it or not, that oftentimes the place will kind of form the mystery, like what would happen in this place that would maybe happen no other place. Yeah, does that make sense?
Well, it does, and I mean, it also makes sense. And I'll get to we'll talk about the location of your Bridget Reardon stories here, but I'll start with. I was reading a little bit about this. The first one of these stories of the Reardon series is The Streel. And it sounds like that was based a bit on a real story, correct?
Pieces of it. Pieces of it. I love, what I have found is I love doing research. And so the summit Bridget comes over from Ireland and she lands in New York, and then she goes to Summit Avenue. And I did a lot of research. I called it the Hunt family, but it's very much based on the Hill family. So that's the kind of thing I do. And what happens is the more research I do, the more ideas I get for the twists and turns of my mystery.
And forgive me if you've already talked about this at length, but was it when you read about the character? Because, I mean, you did Claire Watkins, you did quite a few stories there. And with that character, was it just it was a time for a change, or is like, oh my goodness, I've got to write about this character? It just all came to you and you decided to make the turn. What was that motivation to after having a success with the Claire Watkins series to move on to Bridget Reardon?
Yeah, great question. And, I think I'm just starting to figure it out in a way. I did feel if you read the Claire Watkins series, there's an arc to the whole series. So I felt like I had taken Claire. She becomes the sheriff of Pepin County. Her daughter grows up. She gets married. There was a real sense of getting her settled, if you will. And then what happened was I got a grant from the Minnesota Historical Society to write a book on my grandmother. Now, my grandmother lived in western Minnesota in a little town called Chicago. And the more research I did on my Irish ancestry through her and through her husband, I actually was able to find the boat manifest for when my ancestors came over from Ireland. And something just kind of hit me really hard. Like, these are real people that did kind of an amazing thing to leave everything they knew behind and come. So based on that, I started to brew and kind of come up with who would be a good character to really express what I felt when I saw, and kind of when I began to come to understand what the choices they had made to leave their country. Because I'm pretty sure this is true. Most immigrants do not want to leave. And certainly Bridget and her brother Seamus did not, but they were forced. So anyway, that's how she came to be. And the other thing that I learned in writing about my grandmother was I love doing research. And so doing historical research has just been a lot of fun.
Well, and it does, because there's every one of those people. We look at a manifest from a boat in the 1880s, and it's all a bunch of people. And myself, I've done the same thing. We've been able to track down when the family came over from Scotland and got into Nova Scotia, and they drove for streetcars in New York City and fought for New York in the Civil War. And you could track it all. And then all of a sudden they discovered iron ore in the UP. And anyone that had mining experience went up there, and then when they found it in northern Minnesota, they moved to Minnesota. And so, you can find that trail. And I agree with you. I think the one thing that the narrative, and it's still a current one today, is that it's an invasion when it comes to immigrants. I don't think immigrants necessarily want to come to a new place, especially a place they know is going to be hostile, a place that's going to be hard. But I think that they come there because whatever the reasons they are there, they have no other choice but to go.
Right. And I don't make a big point about it in my books, but I do mention it. At the time that Bridget and her brother came over, the Irish were very much looked down upon. They were often, signs were put up, no Irish allowed. And, they grew out of that. But at first, it was a hostile environment for them.
Joining us right now, Mary Logue, the writer. The story is The Big Sugar, a Bridget Reardon mystery. You kind of, one thing as well changed up with the first series with Claire Watkins to move to Bridget Reardon, and you explored that there as you kind of got out of, what was it, Pepin County for Claire. And your first book, the first book in this series, The Streel, that took place in Redwood, and now you're moving further west. Talk a little bit about that, because it's got to be interesting and quite a bit invigorating to look at new areas to write about and do the research there.
Right. Well, I was just, again, so impressed with what these people did, that they moved across the country. I mean, even for my ancestors to get to western Minnesota. And so again, it's just, I let my mind go. And what if she keeps moving westward and she keeps going across the country? Because there's just so many interesting things that are happening at this time. For example, in Cheyenne, when she gets there, the women have just gotten the vote in that part of the country, not throughout the country, just there. And again, the suffragette movement, and it's just so I just find it so full of joy to do this research and really realize how our country has come to be and how it is continuing to come to be.
Well, and that's one of the things about Wyoming, which a lot of people wouldn't realize. I think they had the first female governor.
Yes.
And
Yep.
and you're right. Women had the right to vote there than before any other state, because that was kind of when they came into the union. That was kind of an issue that was talked about, and they kind of made it a safe space for women and their rights. And so I can easily see how a character would want to go somewhere like that, because you're going to feel like you're going to have more opportunities.
Right. And what's interesting is they had to let the women in to have enough people voting in order to get into the union. So it's very interesting. And just a heads up, the next book is going to be set in Salt Lake City at the time that Utah wants to come into the union. And they can only do that if polygamy is outlawed. So again, it's just wham right into a whole kettle of fish, if you will.
I'm going to, because I do not like spoiling things, and sometimes you say something about a story that you shouldn't. So I'm going to let you. Okay, I want to let you give you the opportunity here. Why don't you give the basic, just the basic plot story of The Big Sugar?
Yes. Well, I'll do it without giving too much away, although it happens very quickly. So Bridget and her partner, Powrick, they get to Cheyenne and they're looking for her brother, and they end up getting hold of a soddy, buying a soddy, and getting horses. And Bridget goes out one day and discovers a murder. Let's leave it at that. Surprise, surprise.
But you see, that's the key. And I mean, as we talked about at the beginning here, is you start to live life and try to look through life as that character. I imagine then when it comes to writing a mystery, which once again are incredibly complicated, these are not easy stories to write. It kind of helps you, the more chapters, more stories that you write about them, to be able to kind of figure out how they would look at it.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because the other thing I've done, I do have some Irish Gaelic words in my vocabulary, but I've been purposefully reading Irish novels and reading Irish novels from that time period to hear that voice coming through, because I'm writing in first person. And so I really kind of fall into Bridget's way of talking.
Mm-hmm. Well, and was that something you had before you did the research, or as you became more enamored with the historical research, something you more adopted?
I think a bit of both. I mean, the striel is a Gaelic word that my mother called us when we were not well put together. And so I have realized as a writer that I have Gaelic words in my vocabulary. I just didn't know they were Gaelic. I just thought everybody had them. So it's interesting how our backgrounds kind of come into, and I think even the cadence of a sentence, I kind of have that. So
I know exactly what you're talking about. My mom used to swear at us in Spanish. And so, and so I said, I don't know Spanish, but then I'll say, well, I know this term. And everyone's like looking at me like, okay, apparently I'm now realizing my mom, it was her way of not swearing at us straightforward, but I do okay in a bar sometimes. So
hey, and I want to make sure to mention these two events of mine coming up.
Sure.
Should I?
Well, I was going to say one of them is going to be over at the Once Upon a Crime coming up here on the 27th, right? The Saturday.
Right, noon to 2, and then after that I'll be at Next Chapter Bookstore June 6th. At 6 o'clock, and just really, really fun to get out and talk about this book.
Well, and once again, that Once Upon a Crime, that's on Saturday, this upcoming Saturday, the 27th, and that's at noon once again.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
yep.
And then Next Chapter Books, which Next Chapter, of course, friends here of the station. That's June 6th. What time is that one? Do you know?
Yeah, 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. Not in the morning.
Grab your coffee. No, it's 6 p.m. on June 6th at 6 p.m. Easy to remember that. Next Chapter Books. So you kind of reference the fact that you already have a third book written here, or you're in the process of, I should say.
Yes, well, it's interesting. Yeah, because when I started this series, again, I had a sense of what I am now doing, which is taking her across the country. So What I know at this moment is she will go. So I've written the first chapter, but I haven't done a lot of research on Salt Lake City, and I have to go there. And then she'll go on to, I hope, to San Francisco. And if I live long enough, and she does too, I think I might try to get her back to Ireland.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I mean, just knowing how writers work, my gosh, that's the amount of research you're going to have to do. You know, it's I said this one time, and I didn't mean to, this is not a slight on Stephen King. He's a fantastic writer, but a lot of his stuff's in Maine. He knows Maine. He knows that. So when you start going out into these other areas, I mean, like you said, you've got to do the research in Salt Lake City, then in San Francisco, which is going to be complicated, and then you got to go back to Ireland. That is how long does it take you to research before you write one of these books?
You know, I'm not a book a year person. I'm kind of, I think and work kind of loosely on a book for almost a year before I really start writing much down. However, you know, there's no, it's not made in stone, cut in stone, or however they say that. You know, because for example, all of a sudden, a couple of weeks ago, I knew where the next book should start, and I did write like 3 or 4 pages. But generally, I write through a book. I'm living it as I'm writing it.
I will be remiss if I did not bring up the fact that you have published a lot of stories, poems, but I got to mention that Sleep Like a Tiger, the award-winning book. You were part of a children's book. You know, and that was a while back. I mean, it was a while back then, but you know, talk about a diverse ability to write. I mean, that is, you really have an amazing talent here to be able to cross genres as well as you do. And once again, the Sleep Like a Tiger, that won a ton of awards.
Yes, it was even the best picture book in Japan. It's been translated, I'm not sure how many places, but you know, I was very lucky. I taught at Hamline University, and I taught in their master's program for writing for children, and they brought in writers from all over the country, and I learned as I was teaching, I learned so much there, as we often do when we teach. And that's kind of where Sleep Like a Tiger, and then to get such a wonderful illustrator, I just felt like the luckiest person.
You can find all of her books. Once again, you're going to be over at Next Chapter Booksellers, and where was the other place you're going to be?
Once Upon a Crime.
Once Upon a Crime as well. Can find all of her books there. Order them through there. Help your local bookstore for sure. The Big Sugar, the Big Sugar, a Bridget Reardon mystery. Mary Logue. Once again, you come back anytime. I love chatting with you.
Well, I love talking with you, and thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
I'll show the book up here on the camera while we're in the break. Thank you very much, Mary. 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. It's the Matt McNeil Show right here on AM 950.
Check out the award-winning Hazel's Northeast in Minneapolis on the corner of 29th and Johnson for a delicious meal any time of the day. Breakfast favorites include Jean's Mean Fried Egg Sandwich and the Drunken Banana French Toast. While for dinner, try selections like the fabulous Swedish meatballs or wild rice gumbo. Hazel's Northeast is located on the corner of 29th Avenue and Johnson Street, just a few minutes away from 35W. View Hazel's menu, make a reservation, or place a takeout order at hazelsnetogo.com.
Consumer Reports published their 2023 Best Vehicles Report, and Toyotas from Rudy Luther Toyota dominate the list again. The Corolla Hybrid, the Corolla Cross, and the Camry all top their best value new cars categories. The Camry Hybrid, the Highlander Hybrid, the Corolla Hybrid, and RAV4 Prime all ranked as best green choices, and my personal favorite, the Toyota Sienna, also ranked in the top of its class. Toyotas are not only gorgeous, they're best buys. Test drive one today by going to Rudy Luther Toyota, 5 miles west of Minneapolis on 394.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
When it comes to houses, disassembly is our game, deconstruction is our fame. There are some bucks for your project. Better Futures Minnesota is your contact.
Instead of demolishing your home, let us take it apart by hand, and we can find the building materials a new home. Limited funds are allotted in 2023 for Hennepin County residents and public entities to make deconstruction even more affordable. Check out betterfuturesminnesota.com. That's betterfuturesminnesota.com.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. It's the Matt McNeil Show, 952-946-6205, 952-946-6205. Mary Logue, once again, the Big Sugar. Go get that. It's fascinating. And you know, it's exactly, I imagine she researches it exactly like I think it would. I mean, it's a long process and it takes a long time to whittle through things, and sounds fantastic here. If you can find the book, go catch her once again at, yeah, you know, at the various locations, your Next Chapter booksellers, a good supporter here of AM 950. I'm going to just read this. I'm going to get away from politics. I got a lot of politics here. And by the way, I should just mention really quick, some house cleaning here. We are doing shows, Patrick, we're best of on Friday, correct?
Friday and Monday.
Well, I'm not going to be here on Memorial Day. It's like I got things to do. So we're here live through Thursday. Tomorrow's going to be a big show wrapping up everything that got passed. And then we got 2 more shows this week. And then, of course, next week as well, we will start in on Tuesday. Just keep that in mind. Just one thing that's not politics. A national organization promoting academic freedom released a new report Monday is assailing Hamlin University. Mary was talking about Hamlin. Their response after the art history instructor showed images of the Prophet Muhammad in the class. The American Association of University Professors accused the private university in St. Paul of engaging in what amounted to de facto campaign of vilification against Professor Erica Lopez Prater that also represented an assault on the fundamental principles of academic freedom. The association is one of many groups that have commented on the episode last fall that placed Hamlin University at the center of a high-profile debate over academic freedom, religious tolerance, and Islamophobia. Lopez Prater's contract was not renewed for the spring semester. The university didn't immediately comment. So basically what once again happens, she's an art history teacher. She says in the syllabus that they're going to be viewing centuries-old artworks depicting the Prophet Muhammad, and basically you're using it in regards to how the art was perceived and changed over time. That would be, you know, as most places today, you can't view the Prophet Muhammad, so how that's changed. She talked about this in the syllabus. They said that if anyone's uncomfortable with this, please come talk to me. We'll make exceptions for you. We do not want anyone to make you feel uncomfortable. And even beforehand, had told the students, guess what? Once again, we're going to be doing this. I want to make sure everyone's comfortable with this. She provided a disclaimer in the syllabus for the course and spent at least a couple of minutes preparing students of the images. One of her students, the president of the Muslim Student Association, said she heard the professor give a trigger warning, wonder what it was for, and then looked at it was a prophet. As I've said to the student, why didn't you read the syllabus? Why? I understand you are upset, and that's fine, but you yourself kind of implied you weren't paying attention to what the art history class was going to be. And once again, the syllabus very clearly said that these images were going to be put out there. So for you to be upset about this and not having brought this to the school's attention or to the professor's attention before you were outraged, that's on you. You know, and I'm sorry. I just, you initially what had happened, she tried to claim this was like a gotcha moment. It wasn't a gotcha moment. And I said before, why didn't you read the syllabus? And the Council for American and Islamic Relations, they even came out and said, no. We do not, this is an art history class. This was not, this is, art history. And it's interesting. My second child's about to go to college, and one of the things I'm going to talk with her about is read the syllabus. If for no other reason, there's a lot of professors that apparently put like extra credit and stuff like that in the syllabus that you don't even realize there because, so people don't read it. Read the syllabus. When your teacher comes on out and says, we're going to look at these images, I want everyone to be careful. If you're upset, you need to let me know. Don't act like you didn't hear them say that. And I'm sorry, Hamlin, you are getting every bit of grief you deserve on this. Because as I said, the syllabus had this, which meant the syllabus was approved by the university and the academic leaders over there. So there's absolutely no grounds to come out here and act like this was some sort of gotcha moment. So, yeah, I hope that they can recover from this. I hope they go through, get better. But reality, you gotta be careful with reactions sometimes. Native Roots Radio up in the 6. We're back tomorrow. Till then, see ya.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation.